anyone on this earth, all you need is your home, because it is something that you call yours. This is an asset where you have to live throughout your life. There's a big difference. There are different type of assets coming in real estate as well, which is
Pratik Kataria is Director, Sainath Developers and Joint Treasurer at Naradko Maharashtra Committee. With over a decade of real estate experience, he has impacted the lives of 1,500 plus families and is a passionate advocate for innovative real estate investments.
the important thing is the customer is changing. They are knowledgeable enough to know what is coming and what will affect the project. We have to be 3 steps ahead of whatever they are thinking.
We've heard some horror stories about real estate companies, projects that haven't been completed. What do investors need to do to make sure that doesn't happen to them?
I think
What are the factors that they need to look at before investing in real estate as an asset class? Hi, thanks so much for joining us today. I guess builders, in their psyche it is, when you're looking at real estate projects and what's going to emerge as the next hot property or area, you guys think very long term. So what is it that you evaluate before deciding whether or not this is going to be a success story or not?
we look at the infrastructure which is going to come up in and around the areas, right? For example, if we talk about Mumbai or MMR, the infra for the next 5 to 10 years is set in the horizon, right? Inside of Bombay, it's already growing at a rapid pace. But when you look at the surroundings of MMR, which is more than 20-25 kilometers from the edge of the city, that is exactly what we need to study.
Okay.
And we do study that. But there are two aspects of having your real estate assets in terms of projects in the pipeline. One is a long term, where you invest, where we try to invest immediately right now, starting from today, and which will give us benefits or maybe an inventory in the next 10 to 12 to 15 years, or maybe something which might take our attention right now but would be developed in the next 3 to 4 years. So out of this, obviously the first one is a long term goal where we start to invest immediately, but the chunk of the investment goes into the latter of the decade. So 7 years from now we might put in more money, but then these are two assets that every developer has, because as we know from the foundation of construction and real estate, it is land that makes a lot of money.
Okay, got it. Let's talk about pricing, because that also is something that I think when it comes to an asset class, it's going through the roof. I think that's just, the simplest way to put it. How is the pricing dynamic really decided and what are the factors that contribute?
Okay, so first of all, it is very important as a developer to have your feasibilities in check, right? You will get to know, as the report says that Naradko and One Finance have done together, about 30 to 35% goes just into the premiums, right? And obviously, let alone your GST and other taxes, stamp duty, and your income taxes. So basis that, if we foresee a project getting completed in 3 to 5 years, right, we need to have a feasibility in check to arrive at the right pricing, including but not only limited to interest costs, other costs which are escalating, like raw material and everything. So more or less that's one factor of deciding the pricing. The other, obviously, the demand and supply of the micro market, right? Other people were there ready to pay for a development which is a gated community or a standalone building. So it depends. The pricing also depends on what inventory and the amount of inventory you have to sell, you as in the developer.
Yeah.
So if I have a larger project, my pricing would be competitive enough, because obviously it's going for 4 to 5 years. But if there is an independent building that I have to sell, which can get completed in 3 years, the pricing would be higher,
Okay.
with a limited inventory. So, but I think fundamentally it is understanding the mindset of the customer who is going to pay and live there, right? Would it make convenient for them to put in that extra money that they are paying or not, is the fundamental of pricing.
How do we compare when it comes to approval processes, timelines, regulatory approvals with some of the other developing countries? What's an approximate time frame?
I'll be honest with you, there's no time frame because see, if we are developing a project and a year into development there is a circular that is coming in, right? Things change, everything changes, your planning might change, but see, from a different mindset of, see, when you are ready with your market research for a project and then something changes, it delays the project outcome, right? Which also changes the market research.
Yeah.
But your product is still there. You have to sell what you have planned 3 years ago, but then now you have to market it in such a way that the end user might change.
Okay.
So in that
Doesn't that bring about so much stress and unpredictability?
it's there, but then when the feasibilities are and the cash flows are strategically managed in a way where you take care of maximum of the contingencies, it's impossible to predict everything, right? So your variables are a lot, but when you know your contingencies are there, when you know that you're not going to over leverage, when you know that my cash flows are still supportive of whatever I'm doing, and obviously there is one more important thing where every developer has to pivot.
Okay.
Forget every developer, every individual has to pivot if their goals are not achieved. The important thing is the customer is changing right now. They are knowledgeable enough to know what is coming and what will affect the project.
Yeah.
Right? In that terms, we have to be 3 steps ahead of whatever they are thinking. Because their reasons and doubts and problems and questions are pertinent and are on point, right? So in that case, it's always important that you be ready with whatever the consequences are going to come, right? A project can be delayed for these reasons by a year or so, by 2 years, but not beyond that.
Okay.
So yeah, there is a ongoing thing going on with regards to the environmental clearances going on in Mumbai and obviously the whole of India. But then wherein the national MOEF and the state MOEF are now talking amongst themselves to have a process and system set.
Okay.
But we are still a good 2-3 months away to take our approvals. So these things change, and you don't have anything in your hand.
Yeah.
We have to worry about things that we can make a change in, because these things are beyond our control. Obviously, the associations play their role, but then we have to live with it. So yeah, getting into the psychology of the customer and making him understand the situation is much more important rather than just going back to the drawing board and changing things.
Okay, so let's just understand now from an investor's perspective, looking at real estate as an asset class. It's obviously compared to some of the other asset classes. There's like equity, there's also gold. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the perception is from the outside for investing into real estate, and are there any myths that you just want to bust?
At the end of it, when you are 35, 40, all you need is your home. Anyone in this on this earth needs a home, right? Because it is something that you call yours, right? You can come back to your cozy corner every night after a stressful day and maybe unwind there, right? These are assets which are invested, right? But this is an asset where you have to live throughout your life. There's a big difference. So from the standpoint of comparing all these assets, I don't think real estate is an asset that can go in comparison with that. Obviously, if it's a home, if it's a commercial thing, then obviously who doesn't want businesses to prosper? And looking at the projections of what we are planning as a country, roti, kapda, makan.
Roof over your head.
Yeah, it is going to be there, and we need commercial spaces also along with residential spaces for businesses to bloom, right? As a standpoint from the population explosion that is happening, the workforce that is entering now, everyone will need a home, and the mindset of aspirational living, and also families getting nuclear.
So that is a big factor.
Yeah, a huge factor, because when you extrapolate all the data that will come, that is showing, we'll need to plan more homes.
So now from an investor's standpoint, tell us what are the factors that they need to look at before investing in real estate as an asset class?
So particularly if it is for end use, right? They have to check the RERA. of the developer,
Okay.
right? Who is developing and what's the prior experience of that developer. We have seen an influx of people now looking at developing a lot of projects, but that is just for the glorified reason of it. But then when we as a next gen of Redco, it's an association where the youth of the real estate developers meet. We compare our feasibilities and we compare our costs. It is for some it is highlighted as something that they don't know, right? Which they would have skipped in their feasibilities, right? So it's important to for an investor to look at the projects that have been delivered by the real estate developer.
Okay.
Secondly, also whether all the regulatory approvals are in place or not. I would highly recommend if someone is going in for a larger investment, then they have to have their advocate vet all documents, including the titles and everything, because it is very important. But right now we have seen that it is good that people are taking loans for their aspirational living, because what happens is the banks usually get these verifications done. So a bank will give an approval to a project only if their check boxes are clear, are ticked, right?
We've heard some horror stories about real estate companies just going belly up and investors being left in the lurch, projects that haven't been completed, money that has gone down the drain. What do investors need to do to make sure that doesn't happen to them? What does their checklist look like? 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think as of now, RERA has covered a lot of things that an investor should check, right? Once you go on the website, look it up, you have most of the answers.
Okay.
But then it's really critical at the cost of repetition to check the background of the developer, right? Because
past projects.
100%, right? Whether the person who is developing has this as their passive business or active business. Because once it is active, we know what we have to do. We know what are the processes and systems, where do we have to talk to the government authorities, and where do we have to talk to other consultants also, for that matter.
So speaking of land, in the outskirts, we're seeing a lot of this, picking up of land directly and investing, but it's not easy as an investment avenue as well. So just if you could just clarify a little bit more about what that trend is like, and should investors tap into it?
So immediately after COVID, restrictions were lifted. The population, all the aspirational again came into picture, where now people want to invest in land which is far off from the city area, right? Because obviously there is the nature is at its best. You breathe clean air, clear air, and obviously there are no more developments right now, but eventually there will be. So with this mindset, developers also moved the same way, right? We have a project in Bangalore that we started investing in 2008, and we right now are developing those. So we saw a huge uptick in that. Now, how does it happen? Is we get approvals for the whole parcel of land, plotted development, right? Wherein we need to have the basic infra ready for it. We get approvals, and then obviously there are people coming in to buy that plot of land, and then you can develop according to the rules and regulations, where the investor needs to take approvals from the authority and then build maybe a commercial or a residential, because you never know what's going to come up over there.
But what about like accessibility, better roads, approval processes? Is it something that's advisable according to you, or no?
So depending on your risk-taking ability, obviously, and the horizon of the investment, right, which is very critical. If you see the lands which are available at an economical rate might not have such advantages to them. But whereas if you're okay with having a land parcel in a good location, then you will have to shell out more money. So horizon of the investment is the main thing that the investor has to think about.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the psyche of the younger buyers or the next generation, how that has evolved over time? Now you said we have more spending power, and that over the next 6 months to 1 year, there's going to be more ownership for this age group. How is that evolving?
So earlier in the day, I think About 10 years ago, you would market a product, it would sell for its own advantages, right? Right now, it is the questions that have been coming in for a certain project and their amenities and the gated community are far more deeper in knowledge from these standpoints of having a younger generation looking at their investments. I'll share an example with you. Our customer who bought a flat in our project was accompanied by her son,
Okay.
right, who is in class 8, right? And the actual person who pushed his mother and obviously grandparents to come and look at a project which is Sainath Developers, our project, is that 8-year-old.
8th standard.
8th standard, sorry, 8th standard. Yeah,
Really?
he was studying in 8th standard. I asked him the reason. I was
Yeah.
spent a good 20 minutes with him.
Huh.
I asked him how did you know about the project?
Yeah.
Like, you have a great on-site development. I love that. I'm staying in your previous project. But then when I was out with my grandmother buying vegetables, I saw this project and I told my mother that we need to buy this. At least, forget buy, at least look at it. And when they obviously came in and the checks and balances were there, his mother told me that actually he's the reason why we are here.
Wow.
And they have bought the project, and he incidentally I met him again and he tells me that the pace of your building is faster. So I asked him, why are you, how do you measure that? So he told me, I can see your building from my window, right? And I can see the other buildings from my window as well. And you are growing a lot faster. And I'm happy that I booked a flat in your building. So, with such witty customers, right? Such knowledgeable customers.
Well informed,
yeah, it's important to stay a step ahead and actually deliver what you promise.
Hire him when he grows up.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. So yeah, we get to learn a lot from our
Yeah,
customer
no.
interactions as well.
For sure. And what about like financial needs of customers? How do you guys as builders with an eye for the future align with these financial needs?
It's always important to know a perfect customer for your product, right? The characteristics of a product, how much is he earning, what would be his loan requirement, right? And that is how, obviously, when we have our market research, we have such things in place. But when we market our product at a later stage, it is easier to achieve our goals and a booking for us when we know our customers and the mindset of them. How much are they willing to, what is their eligibility, right? And where do they reside? Is there anyone coming from the tier 2 cities coming in and buying who wants to shift here? Or is it from the vicinity of the 5 kilometers that people are coming in? Then obviously you have your experiments going on with the digital marketing team that you try and market a product in this micro market, which with some of the features that offer characteristics of a customer changing, right? And if you get good leads from that, then obviously that campaign runs for longer time.
Yeah, okay. Tell us more about these micro markets, how they're gaining traction, what kind of pricing we are seeing over there, how they're comparing to the metros.
The other day I was with a cousin of mine who is from Nagpur, and he tells me that I want to come and learn, maybe do a project with you in the metros.
Okay.
So I told him it's very, so Mumbai and other metros have reached a standpoint where they are examples for the other cities.
Yeah.
Now if you ask me, I would have a project ongoing in this tier 2, tier 3 city where I know what I have done here in Mumbai will be successful in that micro market, in that tier 2, tier 3 city. Considering the micro market, so micro markets are Mumbai is a market, and micro market may be a Borivali, a Kandivali, a Mulund or something like that. So for us, it's been the eastern suburbs where we operate in, because we know the market, people know us better. It's easy to get traction of sales from them, right? Because they know you, you know them, right? You know the psyche of the customer much more. Whereas it would be difficult for me to immediately have a base somewhere else, right? Wherein the profile of my customer changes, their needs change. Someone who is living in a small bedroom wouldn't wouldn't even mind spending a lot of money and then having a bigger bedroom,
Yeah.
right? And whereas someone who's be strapped in terms of cash trap,
Yeah.
he would be okay with a smaller bedroom.
Okay.
So all these changes, help us determine our micro location,
Yeah.
micro market that
Yeah.
we operate in.
Yeah.
Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities have a great future ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as a developer, I would want to expand my business in Tier 2, Tier 3 cities such as maybe a Nagpur or a Surat or somewhere where you know that people would have eventually a lot of, they would earn a lot of money, and obviously they would need aspirational homes from a developer who has already served in the metros, in one of the leading metros, and then he knows what he's doing. So I see a trend changing over there.
All right, thank you so much. It's really been interesting, gleaning all this perspective from real estate because it's an up and coming asset class,
Right.
challenging you described, but booming as well. Lots of key takeaways for a builder's mindset. You need to really think ahead of the curve and you need to be prepared for lots of contingencies and changes down the way. But do remember that roti, kapda, makan. Makan is very important. So real estate as an investment avenue is only going to grow. The infrastructure in and around your area is very critical. But while investing in real estate, it is very important to check all documentation, RERA certificates, and all of the past history of the real estate developer. Online is emerging as a big trend, and the Mumbai real estate market and real estate as a space is expected to grow significantly. Curious to know your thoughts as well about investing in real estate. Do share that with us in the comments section, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I will catch you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.